glad you're here. Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Rugenstein, a marriage and family therapist in practice for over 20 years with a focus on families experiencing estrangement. Faye Anam Avis, the founder of Peak, and I have teamed up in an effort to help parents of estranged adult children navigate the many different experiences of estrangement, most particularly, though, recovery. Peak stands for Parents of Estranged Adult Kids. Our mission is to support estranged parents of adult kids through resourcing that can foster recovery from the multiple negative impacts of estrangement. Recovery may seem like a strange concept if you are an estranged parent, but when we talk about recovery, we talk about taking your life back, but not giving up hope of reconciliation. So why Peak? We're hoping that Peak will raise awareness so that people who serve the population of estranged parents will be informed about the special challenges that this population faces. Estate lawyers, elder care providers, clergy, therapists, each one of these people in the life of in the life of a parent who's been estranged by an adult child, each one of these providers would have a special interest in understanding what that situation means to what are the things that people are struggling with when they want to write their will, when they're looking for care providers. So we're hoping that this Peak channel and interactions with myself and Faye will help people who are serving this population be more sensitive to and more able to meet those needs. We'd like to develop Peak support groups. We have a few of them going online right now at different points, but we would like to be able to have them all over where people can meet in person eventually to support each other while they were struggling with this estrangement. Another reason that Peak has been developed is because it will help you to begin to help others who have been estranged. Once you're feeling better, once you've got your legs under you, once you understand this phenomenon and what your role is in gaining your life back, but not giving up hope of reconciliation. So the main thrust of Peak is to help parents recover from the negative impacts of estrangement. Parents who have been estranged from their adult children is a growing population. Sometimes the parents have initiated the estrangement because they have set a boundary that their adult child refuses to abide by. But more often, estrangement is initiated by the adult child. 95% of parent and adult child estrangements have been initiated by the adult child. This is a growing trend. Right now, 1 in 8 parents over the age of 55 has been estranged. It's 12% of our population of parents that have been estranged. The pain of having an estranged child is indescribable. When talking with parents who have been estranged by their children, they simply have no words that completely capture the pain that they are in. It's ambiguous grief. There's loss. There's wondering what they did to have such a horrible thing happen to them. And that's the topic of probably many videos to come, is understanding what has happened. Let me share a little bit about what this channel is going to be devoted to. One thing we want is to help estranged parents better understand estrangement and how to move into the recovery process. Recovery is not abandoning hope, it's moving forward. Acceptance is taking charge of your life again, and it doesn't mean that you're accepting it as it is with no hope. It's working to improve all of the areas that have been negatively impacted by estrangement, and that's intentional. It's an intentional move into that recovery phase. Acceptance is an openness to the reality of today, what's happening today, what can happen today. And it's an intentional engagement in the healing process that fits whatever stage of recovery you may be in. So let me just talk for a minute about the sorts of estrangements there are. I'm not talking about estrangements that are due to physical abuse, substance abuse, abandonment, or neglect. These are things that clearly the parent has total control over when their child is growing up and can be the source of abandonment by the adult child. Totally understandable. But these reasons are only a small number of the total of estrangements that are out there. But even then, we have seen these sorts of estrangements become reconciled. Let's talk for just a minute about the negative impacts of estrangement. They fall into a few different realms: social, emotional/mental health, physical, spiritual, and sometimes financial. The social impacts are things such as isolation, where parents feel as if they really can't interact with friends. They're embarrassed or ashamed of what's happened. They don't know how to answer questions that might come up. And even meeting new people can be difficult because what they ask is, do you have children? Do you have grandchildren? And it can feel very difficult to have that conversation. The emotional impacts includes things like anxiety and depression. Not knowing what the status of the relationship is or when it will change creates ambiguity, and that raises our anxiety and our stress levels. The physical impacts are twofold. The stress and that it results from estrangement can exacerbate already existing physical ailments, or it can cause other ones to emerge. We do know through research that people who have been estranged by their adult children age more quickly and die younger. There are spiritual impacts. People may question their faith and what they've believed all their life about their God. They may also leave their community, their faith community, because, again, of feeling shame or embarrassment or a lack of support. And there are many things that clergy and church communities can do that will be helpful to parents who have been estranged. And we'll talk about that in future videos as well. Lastly, and not as frequently, but very frequently nonetheless, are impacts in people's finances that are negative. Sometimes it's really tempting to give in to a child who's asking for financial help. And the hope is that if I support them financially, then this will heal the rift. It never heals the rift. So that is the area that can really become debilitating for people because it can affect so many other parts of their life. Out of these impacts comes a sense of powerlessness. And it isn't that there is a power in being a parent of an adult child. Hopefully, in a healthy relationship, there's mutuality, one in which there's an even exchange of conversation and time spent together and understanding of different things that are happening in people's lives. But when our adult children cut us off from all areas of their life, no phone calls, no texting, no social media, no visits, no gifts, no holiday visits, then there's this sense of powerlessness that sets in. And the work of recovery can help us to regain some sense of power in our own lives. But let me be really clear that choosing intentionally to work at recovery does not rule out reconciliation. It actually is a great preparation for reconciliation. The work that is done in recovery helps people to recognize the many things that they can take control over in their own life, and in doing so, help them to be best prepared for a conversation about reconciliation with their adult children, should they have the opportunity to do that. A more immediate effect is that we can become better able to manage the effects of estrangement. the physical, the spiritual, the financial, any of those, we become better able to manage. And those are just two of the good effects of working at recovery. Now, I will warn you, recovery does involve working on changes in ourselves, and change is hard. Many parents give up saying, I've done everything I know how to do. There's nothing left that I can do that would be helpful. In engaging in the recovery process will give you some more tools that you might be able to use, I should say will be able to use, in the event that you are able to engage in a reconciliation process. Another question that parents will ask is, how can I recover if I'm not in contact with my child? What you learn in the recovery process will benefit a future reconciliation process. The things that you learn in recovery about recovery are things that you can practice and find in any relationship you are involved in. So recovery is healthy all the way around and benefits anybody that you are in relationship with. Another thing that we hear frequently is, I just want it to go back to the way it was. And I'm just going to gently say, I don't really think you do. If you think about the way it was, with this estrangement reconciliation dance that goes back and forth, 1 minute you're talking, the next minute you're not. 1 minute everything's okay, the next minute there's conflict. That's not a comfortable place to be living. That does not feel good. We don't want to go back to that. The work on recovery can help us to be sure that if we are able to engage in the reconciliation process, then we will be able to create something new and not go back to the way it was. I'd like to share with you what we are planning on for some future videos, just as a way to give you an idea of what we have in store for you. So one of the videos that we will present is, what is the purpose of estrangement? How does it serve the person who has created the estrangement? What are the stages of estrangement? There are a number of them, and how do you know where you are, what to expect in that stage, how you can take control in that stage and move into the next stage toward healing, if you will. That's more recovery, because it's really hard to think that we would ever heal from an estrangement, but we can come through recovery. Whose story is the real story? I have a story, my kids have a story, and they don't look anything alike, except maybe we can remember the event, the day, the time, where we were. But the story that I'm telling about it is very different than the story my child is telling me about it. How do we determine what the real story is? What is the estrangement continuum? What does that look like in my relationship right now with my estranged child? How can I help others who are dealing with estrangement? There are a number of topics that we will be covering in this series. Some of them have to do, are specifically for clergy. Some may be specifically for clinicians, and some of them may be specifically for other disciplines that you would run into as aging goes on and have different needs from different disciplines, like estate lawyers and long-term care planners. So welcome to our channel. Again, if you think that you can get some information from here that's helpful for you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and when you do that, if you click the little bell at the bottom, that will alert you whenever we put something up that's new, and then you will be able to get to it right away. I'm glad you're here. So the good news that I have is that Faye Anam Avis is going to be available for an interview about the concept of peak, where it came from, lots of other good information. And so our next video will be an interview with Faye Anam Avis, the author of the book Peak. Probably be out in about a week. Thanks.